my WWE Hell in a Cell 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Pay-per-views live tonight exclusively on pay-per-view. And as far as this pay-per-view, this is more or less going to be a throwaway pay-per-view from WWE, and this is one of the prime examples as far as this pay-per-view that WWE needs to lower the number of pay-per-views they have every single year. They don't need to have 13 or 14 pay-per-views every year. I would even say they need to have even maybe less than 12, so every single pay-per-view actually, you're interested in it, and actually you have a lot of time to build it up. And every single pay-per-view should have a card going into it that's like enticing people to go out their way to purchase this. Now, consider you only had 2 weeks of build for this pay-per-view. You're probably going to have a very bad buy rate for this pay-per-view. WWE is probably going to get a... I would be surprised if this does 100,000 buys, maybe even does less than 100,000 buys, possibly as bad as the December to Dismember pay-per-view. Because when you only got 2 weeks of 2 weeks of build for pay-per-view, and it's very weak build to pretty much say the least on this pay-per-view. Not that many people are going to say, I'm going to go out and spend $45, $50, or whatever you have to pay for the pay-per-view wherever you live. Most people are going to say it's not worth going out their way to purchase it. It's just going to be a pay-per-view where, there's a few things that fans might be interested in seeing, but it's not a card for a pay-per-view that people are going to be like, I need to see this. Because right at this point, you got 5 matches on this pay-per-view, and I would say out of those 5 matches, possibly the only match that's going to be a great, actually wrestling match or anything of a great match will probably be the United States title match, the triple threat submissions count anywhere match with Daniel Bryan versus The Miz versus John Morrison, and maybe one of the Hell in a Cell matches might be good, but for the most part, it's going to be not that good of a pay-per-view. It's going to be pretty much one in the category, one of those WWE throwaway pay-per-views. They have several every single year, which with that, WWE needs to realize lower the number of pay-per-views you have. It's pointless to have this many pay-per-views, and it'd be better to have, maybe 8 pay-per-views every year, maybe 10 pay-per-views every year, and have a card for every single pay-per-view that's, a very stacked card and really makes fans want to go out their way and purchase it. When you only got 2 weeks build, and the way this pay-per-view has been built, a very weak build to say the least, fans aren't going to go out and purchase it. Now, the first matchup will be probably the first of the Hell in a Cell matches, since the pay-per-view is a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You would think they would start it off with the Hell in a Cell. When you think of that, they'll probably start it off with Sheamus versus Randy Orton, and then have Undertaker and Kane be the main event of the evening. Now, Sheamus versus Randy Orton is going to be for the WWE Championship in a Hell in a Cell match, which their match they had at SummerSlam, I was actually getting into. I actually liked the match at SummerSlam they had. They actually seemed like they had pretty good chemistry with each other, and you saw some good back-and-forth action. And then they did the DQ finish, so possibly this time around in this match, just as long as they don't have some bullshit finish in the match, they could possibly have a good match with each other. The only problem with this is going to be is I expect with Sheamus versus Randy Orton, it's going to be one of those types of matches where they do it these Hell in a Cell pay-per-views. When they do it, they're not going to really utilize the cage, and they're pretty much going to have just a regular wrestling match, maybe a little brawling, but not really utilize the cage, which when you have a Hell in a Cell match, it's completely pointless to have it if you're not going to utilize the cage. It's going to be like, okay, well, what's the point of having this, Hell in a Cell around the ring and this cage around the ring when they're not even going to utilize it in the first place? It's probably going to be the filling of this match, but you might be able to see some good stuff in here, and hopefully they utilize the cage. Now, with this type of pay-per-view, I really don't like being one of those people that, say that, oh, all the problems with WWE is the PG era, because there's a lot of problems with WWE other than just the PG era. It's many other things. It's really just the booking, and they need to, lower the number of pay-per-views they have every single year, and they need to make sure they just build up everything in a good way and just have some solid booking instead of just the way they've been booking stuff. And the PG doesn't really have much effect. Now, it has a little effect at these type of pay-per-views where you have a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where in these type of matches, they're kind of like the matches where you need to have blood involved in it. Sheamus and Orton can get away with it. The other Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker and Kane, I would say, needs to have blood in it, but you're not going to see it due to the PG era and the no blood policy from WWE here, unless maybe within the match someone gets busted open the hard way. That's the only way you're going to see blood in this era in WWE. And you don't have to have blood in every single match or every single big match or anything, but when you got a match like a Hell in a Cell or something that's pretty much a blood feud, especially later on with Undertaker and Kane, you need to have it involved in there. Like I said, Sheamus Orton can get away with it, and With Sheamus and Orton, Orton will retain the championship since he recently just won it last month. He's not going to lose it already. And as far as the possibility of The Miz cashing in the Money in the Bank, I don't see it happening on this event. I see them saving it and milking it for what it is and wait a little while for him to actually cash it in. Possibly wait until the Royal Rumble or maybe the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. But I understand why people think he possibly will cash it in at this pay-per-view, because whenever someone cashes in the Money in the Bank, they tend to always cash it in after some brutal match, after, Elimination Chamber, a cage match, or a ladder match. And this is a Hell in a Cell, so it's kind of like one of those matches that's a brutal match. So you'd think there's a possibility with it, but I don't see it happening here, especially since recently they haven't been putting too much focus on him actually having the Money in the Bank briefcase. So I think they'll wait a little bit for it, and they'll do it at a other pay-per-view other than this, since this is pretty much a throwaway pay-per-view. It'd be like, what's the point of having him cashing on here? Maybe you'll have something, with the pay-per-view, even though it's a throwaway pay-per-view. Maybe you have something memorable happen on the pay-per-view, and since some people think they wouldn't do it on this pay-per-view, maybe that's the reason why they will do it. But I don't see it happening. Like I said, I see them saving it for another pay-per-view, possibly having him have it all the way to the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in February. The next matchup will be for the Unified Women's Championship. This is going to be Michelle McCool versus Natalya Neidhart. And thankfully, Natalya Neidhart is finally getting a showcase in a women's title match. So that's the good thing about this. Unfortunately, Michelle McCool is obviously going to retain the women's championship. Natalya Neidhart, would be great to see her win, because she's actually a very good women's worker and probably one of the top performers in WWE. Her or Gail Kim, which neither one really gets utilized in the way they should be used. Thankfully, for a change, Natalya Neidhart is getting a pay-per-view match here with Michelle McCool. Could be a good women's match, but Michelle McCool is obviously going to retain since she just recently unified the women's championships. That's not going to have her lose the championship just a month after doing that, or not even a month, only 2 weeks after actually doing that. So Michelle McCool will win this, unfortunately, but maybe could be a good women's match. The next matchup will be the United States Championship for the United States Championship in a triple threat submissions count anywhere match. This is Daniel Bryan versus The Miz versus John Morrison, which this is most likely going to be for match quality. It's going to be the match of the night and probably be a great match right here. It's going to be interesting how they do the submissions count anywhere stipulation in this match. Hopefully they don't book in a way that it's a clusterfuck and it ruins the match, but I don't think it will. I think you'll see some good mat work in this match, some good back and forth action, really fast-paced match. And, at the United Champions pay-per-view just 2 weeks ago, the Miz versus Daniel Bryan had a very good match on that pay-per-view, and within this match, adding John Morrison with it could even make the match even better. So really looking forward to this match, and this is really the one match on this pay-per-view that's really having me go out my way to check out this pay-per-view. I'm obviously not going to go out my way and order the pay-per-view, but I do want to see this match, and this is one of the matches that I actually expect a lot of things from. My expectations for this match is pretty high for this match. So with Daniel Bryan just recently winning, pretty much like the other two matches right before this, like I said, with Michelle McCool just recently winning and unifying the women's championships, and Orton just recently winning the WWE Championship, just in the same realm. I don't see Daniel Bryan losing the United States title quite yet, so he'll retain this title, probably be a very good match. And with the stipulation of submissions count anywhere, John Morrison, The Miz, they're not known as submission specialists, and Daniel Bryan is, so it'd be idiotic for him to lose this match, especially since he just won the title 2 weeks ago. He needs to, retain the United States title, and hopefully they make him into a fighting champion and have him have this title for a long time, because I think he could really do a lot of good stuff for the United States Championship and really make that mid-card title meaning something. Even this is the only second pay-per-view that he's having the title or in a United States title match. He's really making that mid-card title actually seem like something yet again, or at least, like at the Night Champions pay-per-view, that was the match of the night, possibly another pay-per-view here, 2 back-to-back pay-per-views where the United States title is most likely going to have the match of the night. So that's saying something good for him and the United States title, trying to make it actually seem like something of a prestigious title yet again. Probably be a very good match with that triple threat right there. Really looking forward to that. Then the next matchup will be John Cena versus Wade Barrett. The stipulations for this match are, if John Cena loses this, he has to join the Nexus, and if Wade Barrett loses this, the Nexus have to disband. Now, with this, most people are obviously expecting John Cena is not going to lose this match. They're not going to have Wade Barrett win this match and John Cena lose it where he has to join the Nexus, but in the same sense, are they going to finish the Nexus quite yet? Because you would think they would at least wait till maybe the Bragging Rights pay-per-view, or the best time to probably, finish the whole Nexus they will be at the Survivor Series pay-per-view, not at this pay-per-view, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is pretty much going to be a pay-per-view no one's going to remember for the most part, probably a couple months after it actually happens. This match, there's some intrigue with it, but they pretty much killed off the Nexus so much. They completely buried them so much. They could have built them up pretty good at SummerSlam. They lost there. Then last month, didn't want to see Wade Barrett become champion, but it possibly could have been one of those things to breathe some new life into the Nexus and would have helped them out a lot, but that didn't happen. So with that, and the way the Nexus have been booked over probably the last 2 months, not that many people have been even caring what the Nexus are doing. They look like a complete joke right now. So even if John Cena joins the Nexus, which if they go the route of John Cena join the Nexus, they're not going to have him turn heel. They'll just have him join it and have him, be someone that's reluctant to be in with them and not want to join the Nexus and pretty much want to destroy it from within. That's the route they would go if he joins it, but I don't see that happening. I see John Cena win this match. And even if Wade Barrett wins, Cena wins it, is anyone even going to care about the whole Nexus stable or anything anymore? Especially the way they've been booked over pretty much the last 2 months. And with this pay-per-view, going into it, it's a little intrigue, which way WWE is going to book this. Are they going to have John Cena lose this? And if John Cena even loses this, we know he's not going to lose cleanly. And the one thing they possibly could do if Wade Barrett wins the match, but like I said, I don't see it happen. I see Cena winning this match, but if they have him win it, they possibly could have Darren Young come out here, because with the rules of this match, no Nexus member can come out here and interfere, but Darren Young officially isn't a member of the Nexus, so he can come out here and cost Cena the match, or could do something where he costs Wade Barrett the match and has Cena win it and have him have a face turn right there. But I don't think they would do that, because if they did that, they would have to pretty much book Darren Young pretty strong after that if they did something like that, and that would be not the smartest move to do, because I don't think anyone wants to see them really push Darren Young or even utilize him in any single way. So like I said, I see Cena winning it. Hopefully they don't go the route of having the match end in a double disqualification or count out or something like that, or some bullshit finish. Hopefully someone actually loses the match. That's another possibility that could go, but like I said, I see Cena winning the match. Then the other match, which will be the main event of the evening for the World Heavyweight Championship and a Hell in a Cell match, Kane versus Undertaker. Now, their match last month, which was at the Night of Champions pay-per-view just 2 weeks ago, with Undertaker and Kane, not that good of a match. It was a very, very boring brawl with them two. Some people enjoyed it more than I did, but I just couldn't get into it. It was a very boring match. Now, with this match being a Hell in a Cell, and if they utilize the cage well and they do some good stuff in here, possibly it could be a good match. It possibly might be better than I'm expecting, but I'm not expecting too much from them to end this match. Now, even though you've only had 2 weeks of build for this match, this is the only match I would actually say it's actually been booked pretty good, considering they have only had 2 weeks going into the pay-per-view. The return of Paul Bearer was a huge mark-out moment on SmackDown. That was a great moment right there, seeing him return. To be interesting to see what role he's going to play in this match. Is he going to cost Undertaker the match or whatnot? But with Undertaker just returning at SummerSlam, and with him returning at SummerSlam, since they played off the whole him being in the vegetative state, Kane pretty much dominated him on his return and chokeslammed him there and pretty much destroyed him on his return, then defeated him last month in Night Champions pay-per-view. With this, I don't see them having Undertaker lose yet again, so Undertaker will become the World Heavyweight Champion in this match, and this will probably be one of the only memorable things on here, as Undertaker becomes champion yet again in WWE, and probably one main thing that people will remember this pay-per-view for, or anything memorable on here, and possibly, like I said, the triple threat match, submissions count anywhere match with Daniel Bryan versus The Miz versus John Morrison be the best match on this pay-per-view. So at this point, you only got 5 matches on this pay-per-view. Now, they might add 1 or 2 matches at the last minute. They might add a Intercontinental Championship match where they might do Dolph Ziggler versus MVP, or Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston for the millionth time. Or they might have Alberto Del Rio in a pay-per-view match on this pay-per-view. But at this point, you only got 5 matches, and the way the card looks is not that good, not that appealing of a card for a pay-per-view right here, especially for WWE if they're expecting fans to go out their way and purchase this, which, like I said, I expect a very low buy rate for this pay-per-view. I would actually be surprised if it does over 100,000 buys. If it does over 100,000 buys, I would be really shocked. You got a few things that maybe might entice people to go out their way and purchase it, but considering it's only had 2 weeks of build and very weak build nonetheless with the pay-per-view, are people going to actually want to spend $45 with it? But some fans might, considering you got Undertaker and Kane in the Hell in a Cell, and you got 2 Hell in a Cell matches, and some fans are probably interested in seeing what they're going to do with Cena and Wade Barrett. And the triple threat match with Daniel Bryan versus The Miz versus John Morrison could maybe entice some viewers to go out the way and purchase it. But for the most part, I think most people can agree that this pay-per-view is going to be in the realm of one of those throwaway pay-per-views from WWE that they have several of them every single year. Or at best, it's going to be an average pay-per-view. I don't really expect too much from it. It's going to either be a complete throwaway pay-per-view that's going to be a pretty meaningless pay-per-view, or at best, it could be an average pay-per-view where maybe 1 or 2 matches could possibly save the pay-per-view. And yeah, that's it for my WWE Hell in a Cell 2010 pay-per-view predictions. Peace.